Hello students, today we will read chapter number 1, India Geographical Features and their impact on history. Let's start. In the east of India, the Ganges plains merges into the plains of Brahmaputra. The river Brahmaputra rises beyond the Himalayas, flows across Tibet and then continues through the plains of northeast India. In the plains, it is a vast but a slow moving river forming several islands. The Indo-Gangetic Plain has contributed to the rise of urban centers, particularly on the river banks or at the confluence of rivers. The Harappan culture flourished in the Indus Valley. The Vedic culture prospered in the western Gangetic Plain. Banaras, Allahabad, Agra, Delhi, and Patliputra are some of the important cities of the Gangetic Plain. The city of Patliputra was situated at the confluence of Sun River with the Gangas. In the ancient period, Patliputra had remained the capital of the Mauryas, Sungas, Guptas, and other kingdoms. The most important city on the western side of the Gangetic Plain is Delhi. Most of the decisive battles of Indian history, such as the Kurukshetra, Tarain, and Panipat, were fought near Delhi. Also, this plain had always been a source of temptation and attraction for the foreigners invaders due to its fertility and productive wealth. Important powers fought for the possession of these plains and valleys, especially the Ganga Yamuna, though proved to be the most coveted and contested area. The rivers in this region served as arteries of commerce and communications. In ancient times, it was difficult to make roads, and so men and material were moved by boat. The importance of rivers for communication continued till the days of the East India Company. The Southern Peninsula. The Vindhya and Satpura mountains, along with Narmada and the Tapti rivers, from the great dividing line between northern and southern India. The plateau of the south of the Vindhya mountains is known as the Deccan Plateau. It consists of volcanic rock, which is different from the northern mountains. As these rocks are easier to cut into, we find a number of rock cut monasteries and temples in the Deccan. The Deccan Plateau is flanked by the Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats. The Coromandel coast stands between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. The Western Ghats runs along the Arabian Seas and the lands between these are known as Konkan up to Goa and beyond that as Kannada. The southernmost part is known as Malabar coast. The passes in the Western Ghats like Junar, Kanheri and Karle linked the trade routes to the western ports. The Deccan Plateau acted as a bridge between the north and south India. However, the dense forest in the Vindhya mountains make this region isolated from the north. The language and culture in the southern peninsula are preserved intact for a long time due to this geographical isolation. In the southern end remains the famous Palghat Pass. It is the passage across the Ghats from the Kaveri Valley to the Malabar coast. The Falgat Pass was an important trade route for the Indo-Roman trade in the ancient times. The Anemodi is the highest peak in the southern peninsula. Dodapeta is another highest peak in the western Ghats. The eastern Ghats are not very high and have several openings caused by the eastward flows of the rivers into the Bay of Bengal. The port cities of Arikamedu, Mamallapuram, and Kaveripatnam were situated on the Coromandel coast. The major rivers of the southern peninsula are almost running parallel. Mahanadi is at the eastern end of the peninsula. Narmada and Tapti run from the west. Other rivers like the Godavari, Krishna, Tungabhadra, and Kaveri flows from west to east. These rivers make the plateau into a fertile rice producing soil. Throughout history, the region between Krishna and Tungabhadra remained a bone of contention between the major kingdoms of the south. The deltaic plains formed by these two rivers at their mouths became famous under the Satavahanas. A number of towns and ports flourished in these plains in the beginning of the Christian era. The Kaveri Delta constitutes a distinct geographical zone in the far south. It became the seat of the Chola power. The Kaveri Basin, with its rich traditions, language, and culture, has flourished the ancient times. As the southern peninsula is gifted with a long coastline, the people of this region took keen interest in the maritime activities. A great deal of trade and commerce went on through the seaways from the earliest times. In the east, mariners reached countries like Java, Sumatra, Burma, and Cambodia. Apart from trade, they spread Indian art, religion, and culture in these parts of the world. The commercial contacts between South India and the Greco Roman countries flourished along with cultural relations. India, a land of unity and diversity. The history of ancient India is interesting because India proved to be a melting pot of numerous races. The pre Aryans, the Indo Aryans, the Greeks, the Scythians, the Hunas, the Turks, etc., made India their home. Each ethnic group contributed its might to the making of Indian culture. All these peoples mixed up so inextricably with one another that at present none of them can be identified in their original form. Different cultures mingled with one another through the ages. Many pre Aryan or Dravidian terms occur in the Vedic text. Similarly, many Pali and Sanskritic terms appear in the Sangam literature. Since ancient times, India has been the land of several religions. Ancient India witnessed the birth of Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism. But all these cultures and religions intermingled with one another, although Indians people speak different languages, practice different religions, and observe different soil customs. They follow certain common styles of life throughout the country. Therefore, our country shows a deep underlying unity in spite of great diversity. In fact, the ancient strove for unity. They looked upon this vast subcontinent as one land. The name Bharatavarsha or the land of Bharat was given to the whole country after the name of an ancient tribe called the Bharatas. Our ancient poets, philosophers, and writers viewed the country as an integral unit. This kind of political unity was attained at least twice during the Mauryan and Gupta empires. The unity of India was also recognized by foreigners. They first came into contact with the people living on the Sindhu or the Indus, and so they named the whole country after this river. The word Hind is derived from the Sanskrit term Sindhu. And in course of the time, the country came to be known as India in Greek and Hind in Persian and Arabic languages. Efforts for the linguistic and cultural unity of the country were made through the ages. In the 3rd century BC, Prakrit language served as the lingua franca of the country. Throughout the major portion of India, Ashoka's inscriptions were written in the Prakrit language. Also, the ancient epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, were studied with the same zeal and devotion throughout the country. Originally composed in Sanskrit, these epics came to be presented in different local languages. Although the Indian cultural values and ideas were expressed in different forms, the substance remained the same throughout the country. Hence, India has emerged a multiple religious and multicultural society. However, the underlying unity and integrity and the plural character of Indian society remains the real strength for the development of the country. Thank you.